Mm-hmm.
This is the Between Mask of the Tiger Part 7. I want to do a little bit of housekeeping and kind of out of character chit chat about the campaign before we dive into recap. So right now, currently, this is an interesting campaign because you all have marked quite a lot of Janus Mask, but we're not very far along on the mastermind threat relative to how many Janus masks you've marked. So I think that means Theodora is technically winning. So I would encourage you all this session and in future sessions to, I would say really lean on your personal quarters stuff to get bonuses on information moves, just so you can get closer to Theodora. I might also just drop 1 or 2 mastermind clues in there because I usually do that every session, but I haven't been doing that for this one, mostly because you all are like very like have like a very intense and ferocious and a lot going on already. So it almost feels like Theodora's like, it's like, wow, if I drop a Theodora clue in this moment, I don't think it's going to have any impact. So, but I shall find a way to make it have impact. Yeah, so that's kind of one thing. And another thing I wanted to talk about, sort of at a higher level. Well, okay, it's not really that kind of conversation, I guess. I do, however, need to be reminded of something that I was looking at the notes over the other day. Remind me, Mags, what is the coven trying to accomplish? What's the big ritual? I didn't get a chance to write it down.
I said that the leader of the coven actually has no natural affinity for the second sight, so she is trying to thin the veil between worlds, which will make everybody see ghosts.
Right, that's right. Okay. Okay, awesome. I just want to make sure I got that down. I was kind of going over things. And I was like, oh man, I cannot remember. And then I didn't have the video up yet. So, all right. Fabulous. And I think that's basically it. Oh, okay. So let's recap. You do have 3 active threats right now, so there won't be any new ones. One of them, the Nutcracker threat, it's ready to be resolved. So basically, first chance you get night phase, it's an easy resolution. I think you just have to have a conversation. Someone, probably Ms. Sand, have a conversation with the sculptor, and it is done. So that one's in good shape. The Whately camera. We had lots of stuff happening with the Whately camera last time. Somehow still only 3 clues on a complexity 8. but we do know there's a lot of weirdness going on up there at the Society Obscura, and it is waiting on you. And then the Coven, of course, we just started complexity 6 to figure out this the ritual, the when and where of the final step of this ritual. And you have currently used up 1 night phase. After 6 night phases, they complete the ritual. So, and also, side note for anybody who cares, in the final game, I'm reducing that to 4. So 6 is too many. I've discovered after playing it a while. Okay, so let's talk about the hunters. Condition-wise, this group always has lots of conditions, and that has not changed. Burnright's condition, Mask of the Tiger, will figure prominently in a custom move that Chaotic and I are working on, but it's not quite ready yet. Mr. Goodfellow has picked up I Am a God. So that'll be fun. And Ms. Sand has 2 conditions. You reap what you sow. Someone remind me what that came from.
That was picked up from Julius, right?
I think that's right. Mags, do you have
that was also the general feeling I had while walking through the theater district, right? Listening to this song about doomed courtiers.
Right. Yeah. Okay, good.
Covent Garden.
Yeah, I love it. Okay. Okay. Well, if there's nothing else, I think we're ready to begin. I'm excited to get back into this. We do not need to do a new threat. So instead, I'll remind you all, day phase is an opportunity to clear conditions via the vulnerable move, to continue investigations, or to focus on a Dawn question. If you want to like have a scene where you focus on Dawn question, or if you're very clever, you can do all of them in one scene. So let's go around the table and find out what everybody wants to do today. What is your thinking for today, Mr. Goodfellow?
I would like to drop by the theater and Madame Gagnon.
Yeah, it might be your last chance to get some resolution or input on this one. I will tell you though, there's no more clues to be gathered here.
Oh, yeah.
So it's strictly just like just personal scene, I think.
Just want to have a little conversation.
Fair enough. And Burnright?
I'll let Mags go first.
Ms. Hunt?
Sorry, I'm debating. I want to invite Burnright on an excursion. I think we should go somewhere fun together, but I am trying to decide whether that is a place we know is connected to the supernatural, which is the Society of Oscura, or if we should make up a place like an influential side character who, I guess we still have those other two places that the coven visited.
That's right. Yeah, I can tell you those two. You've gone to the Rutland Gardens estate. You have not yet checked in on 14 Brompton Road or 6 Boscombe Place.
Yeah, I'll go with Miss Sand with that.
So yeah, in that case, I think 14 Brompton Road, just to name one of the two.
Sounds fabulous. Okay, why don't we start with Mr. Goodfellow? Mr. Goodfellow, during the day, Madame Gagnon will be found at the actual studio where they practice, which is a couple of blocks away from the theater. It's the same place where we had that epic scene a few sessions ago where every character was there and you met the Snow Queen and everything else. So what is your approach here?
I'd like to walk in on practice. You know, she's in the middle, she's criticizing the dancers, doing her thing, and I just want to walk up to the stage.
Fantastic, I love it. When you get there, you will notice outside of the dance studio is Mrs. Brathwaite's large, grand carriage. She travels in style everywhere she goes when she's in London. What do you do?
I want to go up to the carriage and knock on the door.
Mrs. Brathwaite slides open the curtain and she says, Mr. Goodfellow, what a delight. Did you have pressing business at the dance studio?
Oh, yes, I was simply going to drop in on Madame Gagnon, but I see you've beaten me to it.
No, I'm not here for her. I'm here for you.
Indeed?
Indeed. I had a feeling you'd be here.
Yes, well.
My instincts are unmatchable.
Is this why we seem to keep running into each other?
Perhaps. She, rather than open the door herself, she like clicks her fingers at the coachman to come like open the door for you. Which he does. She says, won't you join me?
I'm afraid I have more pressing business. I turn my back on her and walk to the doors.
Oh, very interesting. She calls out to you. She says, Mr. Goodfellow, you should know that I'm not accustomed to having people turn away from me.
You should get used to it, love.
Very good, very good. This is all well and good. And she says, and she urges the carriage to drive on. But I am giving you a mastermind clue with Theodore's appearance. Theodora is watching Mr. Goodfellow's movements. I should tell you now that you have 5 mastermind clues, and that is a threshold in the campaign, meaning at any time I can make an unresolved mystery into a servant of Theodora. You will lose all your progress on it, and that person becomes a servant of Theodora and is no longer touchable. So know that. I can do it today or 3 sessions from now, but we'll see. In any case, we'll come back to that scene. 14 Brompton Road. This is the home of the Crawleys, Tabitha Crawley being a socialite who was hosting the Fellowship of Dreamers, the AKA the Coven. The house is, you're let in, that's no trouble. The house is bright and airy, lots of family portraits all around, very thick rugs. These people certainly know how to spend their money. I paint the scene question, everyone. Mrs. Crawley is a consummate entertainer. Looking around, how do you know this?
There's, at sort of the entryway, there's a sort of closet, and inside there are still jackets from various people, obviously not living in the house, still left over, forgotten about, but most likely going to be returned soon as there's another party on the way.
In the front sitting room, there is a grand piano, and on the piano is sheet music for a song that's meant to be sung in the round. So indicating that there would be quite usually a lot of voices here.
Nice.
I think there's a very well stocked like liquor cabinet, you know, filled with the glass decanters, and they're always kept full.
Fantastic. You are greeted by Tabitha Crawley. Tabitha Crawley is kind of a, you know, she's probably like in her early 30s. She's wearing a very lovely goldenrod dress. She has very rich brown curls. She blinks quite a lot, which is an unusual thing, just very like blinky. And she says, hello. You have to forgive me. I have so many guests, and I fear it's possible that I invited you here for tea and it has managed to slip my mind. Did I invite you here for tea?
Tea would be lovely, but in a sense you did. I don't think you meant to, though. I am here as a follow-up for some acquaintances of mine that you posted recently, which is the Fellowship of Dreamers.
Oh, yes. They were so mysterious, that Fellowship of Dreamers. I rarely saw their faces, and they always spoke in riddles. Yes, they were here for a week, and it was a very invigorating week indeed. I feel so much more connected to the spiritual world now. It's really amazing.
I am glad that you feel connected. I am something of a cleanup crew. See, I know as connected as they can be, they sometimes leave spiritual remnants behind when they do their work. And so I was hoping that I could investigate the place where they did their work and just make sure that you won't have any untoward effects in a month or two when the spirits grow restless.
Oh, I'm so glad you're here. And she like clasps your hands. She's like, oh, both of you. She takes both your hands. It was meant to be. It was meant to be. Why, just the other day, Cook was telling me that, well, we had a lot of strange incidents happening. Apparently, there was a tub of lard that went rancid, even though it was freshly purchased. Now, my husband thinks that it was just it was left out or something, but I don't think so. I think it was a malevolent spirit. I can feel the malignancy in the air. Can you feel that in the air?
Now that you mention it, yes. Although I am glad to know that it is not.
Just this morning, I stubbed my toe getting out of bed after breakfast. Can you believe it?
That sounds terrible.
I
I'm so
think
sorry.
whatever it is must have it out for me. We have summoned something from the other side, haven't we?
Yes, but don't worry. By the time that I leave, that thing will be unable to bother you.
Please do your work. How foolish of me. I haven't even asked your name.
I am, well, you may call me Miss Sand.
The sand, like sand. Last night,
like sand. Mhm.
I dreamt I was in the desert. I believe there's a connection, Miss Sand.
I'm sure there is.
What do you actually think about her right now?
That this place is not actually haunted, and like the Fellowship of Dreamers just came here, took a look around, and like see like this is a very not haunted place.
I think she was just an easy mark, to be honest.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That said, she seems nice and an excellent host. So I'm definitely gonna look for a way to take the information movement sensitivity, make sure there is nothing here. And then if there is something, I'll at least banish spirits from her bedroom. But
Sounds good. We'll come back to it. Mr. Goodfellow, you walk into the studio and you actually walk in and hear like the crack of Madame Gagnon's like cane as she like smacks it against the back of a dancer to get them to stand up straighter, right? And she's doing the whole clapping, 5, 4, 3, 2, all that business, all that dance stuff. What do you do?
I walk up and I just want to watch her until she notices me.
She turns around. You'll have to remind me, what is her opinion of you right now? I feel like it's gone through various stages.
Well, at first she just thought I was very pretty, but then I like taught her dancers interpretive dance.
That's right, you did.
I feel like that might have left a poor impression.
I will say, I'm going to lean into your condition marked by the Snow Queen a bit. And she will turn around and she will see you. And you will see outside the window, right behind her, the Snow Queen. And the Snow Queen is staring through the window. And she's wearing her wreath on her head like a hat, like she does. Except there is blood dribbling down her face. Christ-like. It's Easter, so let's have a reference. Dribbling down her face, looking kind of a horror show in the window. What do you do?
I just want to call out to Madame Gagnon and say, hard at work, I see.
Yes, Mr. Goodfellow, how nice of you to come by. I fear your presence is certainly striking fear in the heart of all my dancers. I have been rather strict with them, perhaps the right word is aggressively encouraging with them ever since they saw your display.
Madame, they say all great artists suffer for their creations, but I haven't known any to make others suffer in their service.
Mr. Goodfellow, I believe that what we are doing is we are communing directly with the gods when we perform. In ancient Rome, they used to, sacrifice bulls and goats, sometimes even people on the holiest of days. Surely, with our communion, a little bit of, discipline is, at the very least, par for the course.
I fear that's where you're mistaken. as is the way of all great heretics and false prophets.
Mr. Goodfellow, you claim to know something of the gods?
My dear, I am a god.
I love it. I like it. What kind of reaction are you looking for? What are you trying to get her to do?
Well, I want to turn to the dancers and just say, this person is leading you astray. This isn't art. It isn't beautiful. It's, the worst form of pornography. And you should free yourselves from this yoke and embrace your own artistic talents. And I think I want to take it here to destroy her socially in front of all her dancers.
I love it. It's good. I am going to let you do that. I'm going to put you at disadvantage because of the Snow Queen, but I love it. You can balance that out if you have a personal quarters item that would help.
Yeah, I will mark the Snow Queen's Nutcracker.
Okay.
And I want to show it to all of them. And I just want to see, do you see the sincerity with which this has been crafted? Though, admittedly, little amateurish, I'll admit that, but its spirit is pure more than what you have been put through.
I love it. It's great. The destroying her works, that's automatic, but the result of the move is roll with vitality.
All right. That is an 8 plus 3 is an 11.
Nice. You get to choose 2 from the list. Go ahead and take a look at that. I'm going to cut back over to the other scene.
Got it.
This is good. This group wastes no time getting straight to the straight to the good stuff. That's what I love about this group. All right. Yeah. Okay. So what is your approach, Ms. Sand? How are you using your connection to this supernatural to investigate space?
I am going to pull out my large dusty tome, but blank. And I think I'm going to pull out like a fountain pen that doesn't have any ink. And in the dust on the pages, I am going to reach out with my spirit and just do like the spirit writing.
Oh, yeah.
That was very popular in the seance scene at the time.
Yeah, I love that. And you may have to shush her from time to time because she'll be very intrigued by what you're doing. Right. That's good though. Go ahead and roll with advantage if you mark that.
I will mark it. I rolled a 10.
A 10. Very good. We shall come back to that. Bernard, what are you doing in the meantime?
I think Bernright is watching all of this, like sort of prowling around like the room, just like seeing like any of the knickknacks and stuff, and like I think he would be touching the walls and I would like to use old bones, please.
Very good. I feel like you're also like showing up Miss Sand in a way. You keep getting in on Miss Sand's gig at the last few sessions. I like it though. Let's do it. So that is let's refresh ourselves on the move. Actually, you do have the Cosmic Passage mark, yes?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead and roll sensitivity.
That is an 8.
All right, we got lots of clues coming. We'll come back to that in a moment. Okay, so Mr. Goodfellow, what 2 choices are you going to take from the list, and then we'll figure out what the scene looks like.
I'm going to clear all 3 of my conditions.
Nice.
And I'll take something from the victim and add it to my quarters.
Oh, nice. I'll take the scene if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure.
So I think you make this speech, and one of the young dancers says, yeah, we don't have to do this anymore. And they're all starting to kind of like, there's like a murmur or whatever, but the Christmas Eve performance and whatnot, right? And they're like, no, like we could put on our own performance. We don't have to be at Covent Garden. We could, and there's like, And someone else is like, yeah, my uncle owns a little theater down in Shoreditch, or like they're like starting to have this like whole like thing. And Madame Gagnon is like clapping her hands, like trying to get their attention, right? And they start to like throw things at her. Like they begin throwing like shoes and dance belts and like old, like, like just like old like wrappers and stuff. They're just like throwing things at her, right? And pelting her with them. And it gets to be like, it doesn't hurt because they're not throwing anything deadly or dangerous, but like she's just like kind of collapsed down and they're just circling her and just like pounding her with stuff, right? And what are you doing in the meantime?
I think I kind of watch in self-satisfaction, then kind of turn my back and walk away while it's still in full pell-mell.
Good, I like it. I think one of the dancers, I gotta make sure it's not the one that Miss Sand murdered. One of the dancers, let's see. Miss Sand and Julius killed Sasha Delov, if I'm not mistaken.
Hey.
So this will be, maybe we don't have any more dancers on the actual threat, I may not. Well, one of the young dancers, a young man with like kind of fiery ginger hair. He says, Mr. Goodfellow.
Yes?
Perhaps we could perform for you on Christmas Eve.
That is a wonderful idea. Tell me, do you know where Hargrave House is?
No, but we could find it.
Indeed. I look forward to seeing what you young artists come up with.
And then they're like, they're very pleased by that. And Madame Gagnon, she's actually just like weeping and like trying to gather herself and like limping away in shame. How rare a villain gets their comeuppance, but it has happened today. Back at 14 Brompton Road. The writing, the writing it's working. You are going to get a clue about the coven. I better take a look at the other clues before I say. One sec. Okay, it's just the dogs so far. Okay. You're writing in your book, Ms. Sand, and what's coming to you is numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 19. All of the numbers that are divisible by 6, you're not writing those. You will also notice that the 6 and the 12 have fallen off of a grandfather clock in the room. You will also notice that a little array of 10 figurines in a curio cabinet, the 6th one, or where there should obviously be a 6th one, is missing. This is your clue. The missing 6s. I'm going to cut over to Burnright. Per the move Burnright, the ghost shows up but wants something in exchange. Now we have to figure out who the ghost is. I think the ghost is, you can sense that they are upstairs in one of the bedrooms. Do you go there?
Of course. I will be not missed from this scene with Miss Sand. And I just scuttle upstairs.
When you go into the room, you see a woman about Tabitha Crawley's age, sitting on the bed, weeping on a pillow. What do you do?
I take out a handkerchief and offer it out. Why do you cry?
She says, because my husband, I thought he would never be able to love another after I was gone. But now that woman is down there with my things in my home. How much longer do I have to bear this? For years and years, I suspect.
I could do something about it if you want.
Yes, yes, you could. There is another group of people watching all of us right now.
Mm-hmm.
You could remove an obstruction that prevents them from reaching in.
I know of this group, and they would take your husband as well. But I can do something else. I can take direct action.
All right. Well, I favor the classics. A short, sharp shove down the stairs, perhaps. And in exchange, I'll tell you something I know.
Okay.
So how do you arrange this?
Burnright is just gonna take a look around to see if like anyone else is like in the house or at least nearby, like the top of the stairs.
Not up in by the bedrooms, not this time of day now.
Okay.
Also, you know, once I have made my observations, I will probably be leading her upstairs because I'm coming to look for you.
Okay. That's fair. I was gonna like start breaking stuff to like cause some noise.
She will come up there. You know, the three of you are up there now. Well, four of you, including the ghost. And she says, oh, can you feel it? The supernatural energy. I fear if one of us were to fall asleep right now, we would begin expelling ectoplasm from our bodies.
Oh. There's no reason to fret yourself. Everything will be all right. And like as like I imagine like Miss San comes up first of the stairs leading her, and as like this as like sort of like I imagine she like turns to Miss San to like talk about like all this frightful things. I'm just gonna straight up push her in front of Miss San. I don't care if Miss San sees this or not.
I would like this with, I would say it's vitality, but it's actually probably composure. And so if she were a bigger, hardier person, I would say vitality, but I think it's composure in this case. Day move, what do you afraid is going to happen if you fail?
Oh, well, it won't look like an accident, and we have to get rid of the body.
that is fair enough. Okay, go ahead and roll.
Right. That is a 6. Yeah.
You go to push her. No, I have to say how you'd be vulnerable. No, you might get a miss. No, I don't.
Yeah,
you go to push her, and we see you push her. We see her fall back on the stairs, but then the scene cuts, and we see a hand draped in sheer black fabric catch a little doll, and Mrs. Crawley falls halfway suspended in the air and then floats back up. And a letter opener from a nearby table flies to her hand. and jerky, marionette-like, she lunges. If you're okay with that, we'll roll forward. Otherwise, you can mark Janus Mask.
Miss Sand, are you okay with this?
I am okay with this.
Okay, because I would like to, because I'm going to fight like this. Like she's gonna die no matter what. She's gonna die. I'm gonna take out my pair of fine hair clippers, and I'm just gonna try to stab her.
I was actually going to try and catch the letter opener in my palm and write of salt and smoke this, because I'm still on the stairs. Like
you're all there.
So,
this would be a great chance to show off against the witches. I think we'll cut away. We'll come back to it. We'll figure it out in a minute. Mr. Goodfellow, what an invigorating morning you've had. So what's next?
I would like to visit my new friend, the man in the sun mask. Oh, but first, before I leave, I think maybe I pass by like a trophy cabinet or something. I want to punch the glass open, steal like a statuette, something that she was probably proud of, and add it to my personal quarters as part of my move.
You sure can. Absolutely. Fantastic. But you're going to go to Limehouse otherwise?
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. We could fast forward to that. When you step into the opium den, I think I'm going to re-ask the paint the scene question. Enough time has passed. This is Jenny Johnson's place is the sort of place where people from all walks of life come to partake. It's always busy, even in the day, though busier at night, but still pretty busy. Looking around, how do we know that this is a melting pot of the social classes of London?
I want to say that the man in the sun mask brings people from the Society Obscura here. So it's not uncommon to see people in very flamboyant costumes just kind of zonked out of their minds.
Going forward, because I've had a few conversations with the man in the sun mask, taking a look at his booth, it's very clearly that it's been done up a bit more than the others because he has paid out of pocket for it.
In that process, the seats have been decorated excessively with pewter charms, meant to banish the spirits from this place specific.
I think when you step inside, I think in his little personal cubicle where he has, holds little audiences, cushions all around, actually these various like little furnishings all around. He's there with a couple of other members of the Society Obscura. You recognize them from the previous evening. And he says, "Mr. Goodfellow, you can't get enough of us."
No, it seems I cannot turn my back without finding members of your order nipping at my heels.
That is only because they wish to kiss them, Mr. Goodfellow. Certainly that must give you some sort of encouragement.
Yes, well, it would be more enjoyable if we were making better progress towards our goal. And I kind of like sneer at like the two underlings, like, get out of here, let the grown-ups talk.
They will. They'll get up and they'll wander off, kind of like in a giggly fog of opium smoke. So, please, do you partake, Mr. Goodfellow?
I partake in everything, and I pick up a pipe and start to pack it.
Splendid, splendid. I often have a chance to speak with members of Hargrave House. Not Hargrave House as you know it, of course. Other versions of Hargrave House, other worlds. And they so rarely smoke with me. You are rare in this way.
I've been told that before.
There are a great many beauties, just like you, Mr. Goodfellow. But you are most striking, most comely. I do wonder what we have done to deserve one such as you in a city so filthy and wretched as this.
Well, it is because the city is so filthy and wretched that it needs one such as me.
Yes, a diamond in the rough, a glimmer of gold in the silt. I like that very much. You and I are very similar in this way.
Are we?
I am a ray of sunshine in the darkness, Mr. Goodfellow.
Oh, if you feel such kinship with me, will you not show me your face?
I would, Mr. Goodfellow, but I'm afraid even one with years as long as yours would not be able to survive it.
If I were to make him my worshiper right now with Giveth, would he take off his mask for me?
He'd have to, wouldn't he?
I would like to do that.
Very intriguing. Okay, we'll come back to this. Let's take a 5-minute break. I like Rights of Salt and Smoke here. With you, sounds like you're gonna try to catch the letter opener and cut your hand then. I love it. Let's have the roll, see how it goes. Seven. Taking a look at the move, you get an effect, plus you have to also mark a complication. Or choose one.
So I'm not sure exactly which effect this is. I basically want to reverse the coven's involvement, right? So I think that might either be do one thing that's beyond human limitation, which is just making sure this woman falls down the stairs.
Right. Yeah.
But it could be trapping her into this, death spiral.
It could be banishing a spirit or curse from a person too, because that's really what's
true.
happening. Yeah.
So maybe
I think regardless, we'll get the effect you want though.
Yeah.
What's the complication though?
So there's definitely the immediate attention, but that's already happened. So I think I take a condition.
Yeah, I'll give you the condition. Well, it's really going to matter quite a bit about what you all do immediately after, I think. So just give me the scene preceding, like, what does it look like when you get the coven out of here and cause poor Miss Crawley to fall down the stairs?
There's an emotionally vulnerable ghost in the bedroom who I am going to try to seduce and lure back to Hargrave House.
Oh, I like that. That's good. That actually might be a good thing for the condition then. I think the condition will just sort of flow from all that, which will be the condition is going to be the many needs of Mrs. Crawley, since it's the former Mrs. Crawley. But go ahead and give us a scene of the soon to be late Mrs. Crawley. Give us the magic and all that.
So I think I catch the letter opener with the palm of my hand. So my palm has been speared by the letter opener. And I wrench my hand, pulling the letter opener out of Miss Crawley's hand. And I pull it then also out of the palm of my hand and I throw it where the palm of the hand that caught her would be. And I think I sensed its presence both because she was caught by some force and because I am familiar with the coven's work. And so I think yeah, I think that successfully pins the coven's hand, leaving me free to kind of hip check Mrs. Crawley the rest of the way down the stairs. And I think I'm going to turn and look at Burn right now because I have no idea why we had to kill Mrs. Crawley. Like I was on the stairs and Burnright was like, oh, murder time. And so I'm gonna be like, turn and look at Burnright and be like, wait, why was this necessary?
I think the first late Mrs. Crawley steps out into the hall and sees the new deceased Mrs. Crawley dead at the bottom of the stairs and says, she smiles and says, I promised you a question. The answer to one, what would you know of me?
When the Fellowship of Dreamers came into this house, what sort of ritual did they perform?
I don't know about such silly things. I do know that they spent the evening reading tarot cards and palms, but the fellowship itself they couldn't get out of this house fast enough when, while doing a tarot card reading, they revealed a deck full of nothing but the 9 of Swords. That's your clue. Ms. Sand, the way to bind the former Mrs. Crawley to you is by getting her engagement ring off of the new Mrs. Crawley's hand. Or her wedding ring. Mr. Crawley, in a rather gauche manner, took her wedding ring off of her when she died to give to his new wife.
I will definitely do that, right? So I will walk down to the still warm body and pull off the wedding ring. And then I will turn to the new Mrs. Crawley, or the former Mrs. Crawley, and say, all of this for a man?
She says, no, he wasn't a very good husband, truth be told. But I just don't like people with their hands on my things.
That makes sense. I don't know that I knew what love was until I met Burnright here. See, we live in a house together, and the way he cares for that house and the things in that house is nothing but love. And I would suggest to you that perhaps staying in the house where your former husband will continue his philandering is perhaps not for the best. Come back to our house with me and Burnright, and we will take care of you.
She says, I will think on it.
Can we show you what we mean?
And she's already opening the door to her former bedroom.
Excellent.
think we'll wrap the day phase for you all there.
Yeah.
Unless you want to give us any other details.
I am going to say this is my vice. Making love to dark entities.
Fair
He
enough.
is a ghost.
We can have a
And
vulnerable
so
scene.
I
Yeah,
am
of course.
indulging my vice with burn rate.
Yeah, I'll take it. We'll come back to it. We'll come back to it. Mr. Goodfellow. I think per the move. Oh, also I want to check in. Did you scar your reflection from Taketh Away?
Yeah, I scarred them for 2. I have 1 box left.
Very good. The move says you have to describe how the side characters subtly or not so subtly debases themselves before you're in the scene. I have an idea for the debasement, so I'm just going to ask you, what is the moment like when you like command the man, the Sun Master, to worship you or become your worshiper, and how do you know he's agrees to it? Like, what does that look like?
Well, I tell him, well, sir, you've been to many places, I believe this, but have you ever been here? And I pull out business cards for the king's court, and I slide it to the table before him.
And he takes it and remind me what this is.
This was one of the items I got at character creation. It just says business card for the king's court. We left that vague.
Oh, very good. He says, oh, good. I think I assumed it was kind of a Fey realm thing.
Yeah.
He says,
I am, of course, familiar with it because I am familiar with so many interesting places in our existence. And yet I have never once been invited to spend time among your people in this way. No.
There's always room for a friend of Robin Goodfellow.
And what must I do in recompense for this splendid invitation, Mr. Goodfellow?
Show me your face.
Oh, Mr. Goodfellow. If I were to do that, you would burn up. You would cease to exist. It would char you to a cinder. Are you willing to take that risk?
Always. You see, I yearn to see something I've never seen before.
he removes the mask and it is just white, hot, glaring intensity. It is it is pure creative energy, but literal energy, burning white and hot. How does it make you feel?
I think he screams a little bit as he just flooded with light. It's more than he expected. It floods every aspect of his body, and it feels, amazing, but it's also burning to a crisp. So it's this mixture of suffering and elation.
I think we'll come back to the conclusion of the scene in a moment. Let's go back over to the other two. So we can pick up with the pillow talk, I suppose, or maybe this is all happening in the middle. I don't know. I'll let you all decide. But in any case, it's your scene. Take it away, Ms. Sand.
Yeah, I think pillow talk is a good place to pick up. And I think my attention is directed at the ghost of Mrs. Crowley. and I am talking to her, and I ask, so how about it? Are you willing to forget your husband, or will you continue to haunt this place? You have enormous freedom. You are no longer constrained by the physical as you once were.
I'm sorry, were you addressing that to Mrs. Crawley?
Mhm.
The
Oh.
ghost of Mrs. Crowley.
Say it one more time. I was looking.
I asked if she was willing to forget her husband and move on from this place.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's what I thought.
and I'm trying to emphasize to her that she has more freedom than she's ever
Yeah,
had.
she says, well, I must confess, Miss Sand, you are very, very persuasive. I can't remember feeling like this even when I was alive. You should know, Miss Sand, however, that I am most demanding.
I believe you.
I have many needs. Mr. Crawley could barely keep up with them.
Well, if you take my proposal, you will not be limited to just me. And I think I bite my lip and then kiss the ring. And there's just a little bit of a smudge of blood on the ring, and I'll place it on her. I actually think I'm going to place it on her pointer finger and not her ring finger. And I think there are bloody, like it's a diamond framed with sapphires, small sapphires. So I think the sapphires themselves are bloody here. I'm going to say, with the freedom of the afterlife, you can go anywhere and see anyone. And I have no wish to tie you down.
She says, she takes the ring and she says, this is her wedding ring, right?
Mm-hmm.
She says, I remember when he gave this ring to me. It was a gift that I expected, but not from where it came. That was a surprise. And she looks at you and she says, I see things now in my new state. You know where this ring came from, though you may not realize it yet.
Yes, I suspect I do.
Yes.
I'm interested in who you were in life that caused Theodora to give you such a generous gift.
Well, let's just say, dear Theodora had a daughter who was not always as obedient as she would have liked.
And are you friends with this daughter?
She says, I am that daughter.
In that case, I'm delighted to make your acquaintance. So I suspect that this is our clue.
Well, this is a mastermind clue.
Yeah.
I'm making it a mastermind clue.
Okay.
The former Mrs. Crawley is Theodora's deceased daughter.
So I guess at this point, I'm going to ask Burnright if Burnright has any questions. And also the condition I'm clearing is the sapphire.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
I think Burnright it's been an interesting time, Miss Sand. But you really shouldn't be careful with all of this. The dead don't like to always play nice, even when you do get what you want.
Miss Sand, how do you feel about Mr. Goodfellow's valet talking to you of the dead? Is this one of those "don't speak to me of the old ways which I was there"? Like, what is this?
I think I'm actually just highly amused. And there's the bit where I'm like, what does someone who will never die know about death? Where would you have learned the actions of those who have already passed on? And also, perhaps this sort of power and rulelessness is exactly what we need right now.
I'm just saying be careful. I'm not saying not do this.
Okay.
We all have all our vices. Some are more dangerous than not. I try to contain mine, put them in the box every so often, every so many years. The box likes to open on its own.
Your model of restraint and loyalty, I agree. But we do not all have those gifts. Some of our gifts are a lot more violent, and I will wave my bloody hand at you.
Oh, I wish that this was I wish you could ask me a question right now because I have things to say, but I can't.
You do get to clear a condition though if you think one is cleared.
I don't think so. Like I'm sort of like the Mask of the Tiger. I don't see any reason for clearing it right now. Neither a worshiper, because like
Fair enough. Speaking of worshippers or potential worshippers, Mr. Goodfellow, the man in the sun mask, minus sun mask, says, "If I do not dim my light, you will be burned up in moments, Mr. Goodfellow. But I cannot dim my light unless you find a way to bring me under your yoke, unless you subjugate me now. This is the only way you will survive, Mr. Goodfellow."
You will do it because I command it.
And I think he falls down at your feet. He kisses your hands and your feet with his fiery glow. And he then crumples and rolls over and slips the mask back over his face. And when it's all said and done, both your hands and your feet now glow like the sun. And I'm giving you a permanent condition called the Light of Apollo, but also a permanent personal quarters items called the Light of Apollo, meaning
Okay.
it's never marked. How do you feel at the end of this?
I think I look at my burning hands and feet. I just kind of smile to myself, but I just say, yes, yes, this is perfect. My dear, I think this will be the beginning of a truly wonderful friendship.
And that will conclude our day phase. Let's go over to, with the sun literally setting in the opium den. Let's go to the phase tracker, take a look at things. All right. Factotum, Ghost of Hargrave House, and day work. You may use the first, you must choose one on day work.
All right. I am going to give Miss Sand back her frog wax.
As one does.
Yeah, so. And I'm going to ask a question. About the coven.
Okay.
Are they dealing with demons or some sort of other being, such as like we have the man in the sun mask? I imagine that there's more like him that aren't quite a demon, but also not quite a good thing.
Intriguing. I will tell you that I can just answer the question, or I can answer in the form of a clue. I'm looking at the clues right now to decide which I want to do, because day work theoretically is something you would have discovered just while you're putzing around the house, right?
Yeah. And I know that the coven can do all sorts of like arcane stuff. So imagine like they've been attacking Hargrave House.
Yeah,
So
no, it's good. Yeah, I like it. I will answer in the form of a clue. You discover while cleaning up, getting ready for the nighttime, getting ready for dinner, you discover down a side hall a small blue door. You don't recall that blue door ever being there. And in fact, this small blue door, which you would have to hunker down to even go through, does not open. You don't know such things, but Ms. Sand would probably. The color blue is not typically associated with demonic activity. It's something else, most likely. Or, who knows? But the blue door is a clue. It is relevant to their plans. And it is in Hargrave House. Let's keep going with the dusk phase. What's everyone doing tonight? What is everyone interested in doing, Ms. Sand? Ms. Sand, did you hear?
Sorry, can you repeat the
Oh, yeah,
question?
just what do you want to do tonight?
Tonight I would like to walk the streets and have another conversation with the sculptor.
Fair enough. Sounds good. That will get that resolved if you just have the conversation. Sounds good. Mr. Goodfellow, what are your plans this evening?
I was thinking, if we say this is Christmas Eve, bring
Oh,
the
the
sculptor
performance.
back.
Yeah.
Bring the sculptor back to Hargrave House. Give him the opportunity to do his big dance number with the recently freed Ganyonian dancers.
Well, that's a possibility too, Ms. Sand, if that would be more interesting, is to have everybody there at the house.
Or bring him back to it.
Oh, after the conversation. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to. It's not quite a vulnerable move, and it's a little bit wasteful, but I would like a scene with Mr. Goodfellow in his quote unquote new form.
Oh, I think that'll be fun. Yeah. Assuming that won't take the whole night phase, what will you be doing otherwise?
Pretty much I'll be following Mr. Goodfellow around, arranging things for this Christmas performance.
Very good, very good. I like how we're having the Christmas Eve performance when it's real world Easter. Good. All right. That sounds great. Do we have any Janus mask props right now? I don't think we do.
I have the 2 reflections.
Yeah, well, go ahead and tell us about it then.
I think the first for the dancers is you just see a cloud of flies just surrounding the tree, dancing in unity. And I think for the sun mask, I always imagine that there's like a big skylight sort of thing, maybe a grate in the roof, and just at dusk, it just gets very bright and intense, coinciding with myself getting the sun powers, and it just bleaches the trunk of this tree, so all the branches turn dead white.
Fantastic. Oh, we never talked about Hargrave House. Let's do that now. I think for this trip to Hargrave House, we shall do the dining room. You don't often all take meals together, but tonight is an exception. What is on the menu?
I think Robin doesn't really eat. I think he just drinks wine to the little hours of the morning.
I think one of the reasons why it's rare that they don't eat together, it's presumed that Burnright doesn't eat with the rest of Hargrave House and just eats in his rooms, but because of like how everything's been set up, I think
it's Christmas Eve.
It's Christmas Eve. Burnright is allowed to sit at the table, and his dish is separate from everyone else's. Like he has made a meal himself, and it's just the equivalent of just a meat pie, really. It's a bit odd because like I imagine that there's also like higher quality food for everyone else. So even though Mr. Goodfellow won't eat it.
In that case, I think there's a feast that's been prepared that could easily feed like 4 to 6 people, but the only person eating food is me. And I think it's very unusually French. So I think there's frog legs and steamed greens, and it's just very much like fresh and French. And I think I keep sneaking food onto Burnright's plate. So like, I'll serve myself like, I don't know, a handful of frog legs and then sneaks like 2 of them onto Burnright's plate.
Julius and the lurker, in quite dramatic fashion, throw a young male sex worker down onto the table and lustily drink and drain him dry. And Julius looks up from the young man's inner thigh, his mouth smeared with blood, and looks at the lurker and says, "Merry Christmas, son." And with that, let's talk about the unseen. I think we're going to do, we have so many to do still. Oh, let's do the Covent Garden one. The show is not taking place in Covent Garden, but Covent Garden is still a place where things happen. This is on the bottom row on the very far left. An evening promenade in Covent Garden. Covent Garden houses a large market selling mostly fruit, vegetables, and fresh flowers. Recently covered by a new market building, while most of the stalls have packed up by the time dusk falls, the area is still abuzz with visitors. Both the Royal Opera House and the Theatre Royal can be found here. And while it has cleaned up its image a little bit, it still has a reputation for hosting ladies of the evening. Everyone is paint the scene. Prompt 2 will be Max.
Can I please have the third one?
You sure can. That will be Sasha. And Chaotic will be fourth. Let's take a 5-minute break. We'll come back and do the night phase. Covent Garden. Everyone, as crowds gather for evening performances and market porters clear down stalls, describe how this place is a crossroads for all strata of London society.
I think you see, young gentlemen wearing tuxedos, evening vest, on the way to the theater, arm in arm with, sex workers, just, flaunting it, no concern given for appearances.
Thank you.
I think a woman who was plying some rather rough trade in an alley comes back to the main street and her lip is split, and a young noble passing by offers her a handkerchief, and she takes it and in exchange gives him a bloody kiss on the cheek.
So, Covent Garden, this particular promenade, it is literally an intersection in which various trawling through London. Like, if you want to get anywhere, you're probably the best bet is to take like a route that leads very close here or directly through it. So it's just an epicenter of London.
Fantastic. Now, no one knows who decided it. No one even knows who owns Hargrave House. But it is known that every year someone comes to decorate Hargrave House, in particular the various common areas, ballroom, salon, that kind of thing, for Christmas. And so when you all come down for your rooms, from your rooms to sort of see how the foyer and the grand salon and the ballroom has been decorated for the holidays. You are all very, well, maybe surprised, I don't know, but you see that everything has been done in sapphire blue. Sapphire blue tinsel, same brilliant glittering blue baubles on the tree. There is an enormous tree in the entry hall, just covered in hundreds of blue ornaments. And there are gifts wrapped under that tree with a tag for each of you. What do you do?
I certainly don't plan to open mine until Christmas morning or when I come back from walking the streets.
Robin thinks the display is a little garish, but he can't stop himself. He goes up, gets the present, and unwraps it.
Indeed. Inside, Robin, there is a single bough or clipping of deadly nightshade.
Well, I suppose it's the thought that counts.
Indeed.
Burnright is very curious about all this, and like he will open his present. That's like, I imagine it's not quite a very small like bough of nightshade. I think it's like ridiculously sized.
Well, that was in Goodfellas box.
Yeah, but however,
Yeah.
I don't know what's in mine, so I want
Yeah.
to take a look at what's in mine, because if it's more nightshade, then it's like,
You open yours up, and inside there is a mask of a cat, but not a tiger.
oh,
It's like a little kitten mask.
this is cute.
I like the other
Julius.
one better.
Julius goes for his box. There's one for him. He opens it, and inside there is a card, and he's reading it to himself. And he looks up at the three of you, says, and he slips the card into his shirt pocket. And trundles off to his room.
I'm gonna follow Julius.
If there's nothing else, we shall go to the rest of the night phase. Merry Christmas from Theodora. So, back at Covent Garden, Mags, a young girl sells bouquets outside the flower hall, made up from the leftovers of the day's trade. Who comes to her to buy? And who are they taking the flowers to?
The people that come to her to buy tend to be the low end of the upper class. So people with money or perhaps a small title, but not the people who would plan ahead and get elaborate gifts. And the people who buy find themselves knocking on the back doors of the theaters and opera halls, being let into the dressing room area. And there is, I think, a moment of confusion when people go to knock to see some of the ballet dancers, and that door doesn't open. So I think someone's mistress, or in the case of male ballet dancers, Mr. is missing. at the moment because they have been subverted.
So, Ms. Sant, you're heading out to go find the sculptor. I think that's a very good plan. You are let's do the move. The move says, take a look at it real quick. For people watching the video who are curious, a beacon in the dark. When you walk the streets of London at night, your consciousness spreading across the city like a vast spider web. Roll with sensitivity. But because of our season, I would like for you to tell me, you probably do this all the time, just as a matter of course, but I'm curious, how is what you're receiving, what your consciousness is spreading out into, how is it different because it's Christmas Eve?
I think there is always a hubbub of emotions in London, but the contrast in those emotions gets higher the closer we get to Christmas. And so tonight there is quite a lot of eager anticipation and quite a lot of quiet desperation. And it seems that nobody is feeling kind of neutrally. Everybody is on one extreme.
I think as you were walking, I'll give you the roll in a moment, but you actually come upon a woman, maybe in her 40s or so, and she is sitting on a bench and weeping quite loudly, clutching what appears to be a ballet dancer's shoe. What do you do? I'll just make it even more pointed. You recognize the woman enough to know that she is probably Sasha Delov's mother.
I actually think I pointedly ignore her. I think I mark her face. Like I give her enough of a look that I will remember who she is. But
We'll see.
I
Night move.
just walk by. Yeah.
Night move.
Okay.
And because you reap what you sow, I'm putting you at disadvantage. What are you afraid is going to happen if you fail or lose your nerve in this case?
I still have like a fine rim of blood on my lips. And I think Sasha, not this Sasha, his murder was very public and not the sculptor's work. He was obviously eaten in considerable ways. And so I think if she doesn't directly connect me to the murder of her son, she will descend into cannibal panic, right? The idea that there is people out there who are eating people.
That is very bad.
Yes.
But it is worse than that. She knows you did it. And the coven is going to help her get her revenge. If you wish to attempt to walk past, roll the dice with composure at disadvantage.
That is a 5.
You are attempting to walk past, and she calls back to you. Ms. Sand, don't you know who I am? I know who you are.
Mm.
And certainly they know who you are. And we see in this snowy moonlit scene the coven with their black veils
You are
cordoning
another
around.
grieving mother.
She says, yes, perhaps. But I have agreed to wear my mourning veil forever. And she drops the black veil over her face, much like the rest of the coven wears their black veils. And they all raise their hands in synchronicity. And you feel them leeching your power out of your body.
I'm gonna mark a Janus mask.
Very good. We'll come back to that. Meanwhile, I do want to have the scene with Mr. Goodfellow and Burnright, and in particular with Mr. Goodfellow's changed condition, but we'll have the little follow-up with Julius first. Are you just hoping to like learn what is on the card?
Yeah.
Because you can just learn that later when you're snooping around.
Yeah, I'm seeing if like where he's gonna put that card,
Yeah,
or like I
yeah.
can just like pick it up later and take a look at.
Julius is very careless.
Mhm.
This we know about him, so it shouldn't be any trouble figuring it out later.
Yeah, I just don't want to like have to like he toss it in a different room and
Yeah,
just like me having to go clean up the entire house. That's the thing.
Yeah. He actually, I think you'll even overhear him inside his room with the lurker. He'll say, "Dear boy, we have an invitation to spend New Year's with a one Mrs. Brathwaite at Brathwaite Hall. Isn't that exciting?" But we can go ahead and have the scene with you and Mr. Goodfellow with all that done. So what's happening, Bernard?
I imagine like after dinner, like I think we still like have stuff to prepare for the sculptor and what have you, but I noticed that there is like a sort of stain on Mr. Goodfellow's shirt. I insist that like we fetch him a clean shirt. And like I'm just following him around like sort of a dazed little puppy.
Come now, Burnright, it's Christmas. Take a break from your worries and your duties.
Without my worries, then what will I be?
Do you ever think perhaps you're held back by the things you are?
I try to hold myself back so very, very often.
But sometimes it is right and good to accept change into your life. Just look at me. And I turn towards him with a flourish and let the light illuminate my arms.
I think Burnright at that falls to his knees. You are truly divine.
I think I kneel down a little bit, put my two first fingers underneath Burnright's chin, and force him to look up at me. And I say to him, "This is a very special day, my friend. I think very great things are going to be happening soon, and you will be at the center of them."
Oh,
That feels
Simply
like
let the light guide your way.
good. Back at Covent Garden. Sasha, what scenes of high drama do we see play out on the stage of the Royal Opera House? How do we see these same tragedies and romances play out on the street outside?
I think the stands are full. People come out in their absolute finest for this big Christmas pageant held by Madame Gagnon. However, they're sitting there and waiting, and no one comes out. I think maybe 20 minutes to a half hour passes when Madame Gagnon herself walks onto the stage and just, regretfully informs them that the performance has been canceled. And I think there's a moment of silence when suddenly someone throws something off the stage, like maybe a bouquet of flowers, but right at her to hit her. It's an inverse of all the other great performances where she's been feted. And I think outside, maybe there's like a street performer or comedian who did a bad performance and people are just pelting them with tomatoes and just sort of mirroring each other.
I love it. Ms. Sand, instead, I would like for you to go ahead and make the Beacon in the Dark roll with sensitivity, please. The complication is just going to be that I'm going to make you roll it with disadvantage because of what you say. But otherwise, you were able to walk past her, no problem.
Well, because of that disadvantage, I got a 7.
Let's just make this an interesting scene then. So per the move, they will not, the sculptor will not go away right away. This is how I want the sculptor to enter the scene now. You don't get far from the weeping Mrs. Delov. And I want to emphasize the sort of moonlit winter wonderland of the scene, snow all around. Mrs. Delov's bench is almost like by itself, this dark blot in the middle of all this white. As the sculptor enters the scene, paint the scene, everyone, given the supernatural nature of the summoning, how does the scene take on the appearance of a winter wonderland?
I think there's a sudden flurry of snow. It's kind of blinding driving snow. And as Miss Sand walks, she finds that she's no longer, it seems like she's not even in London. She's just in the middle of a tundra.
I think sort of going off of that, the supernatural aspect, I don't think the sculptor was immediately like walking on the street and like sort of like the snow swirls around and sort of comes and forms together to form the sculptor.
I think the background chatter of the city dies down and is replaced by the distant ringing of bells.
Good. I'm going to add something too. A polar bear is roaming around in the background. The sculptor sits down next to Mrs. Delov on the bench and says, I had such wonderful plans for her son. Plans which you and your companion interrupted. I'll remind you of the opportunity for this threat that you have unlocked. The opportunity is resolve the threat by empathizing with the sculptor and promising fresh materials.
It also says we unlocked a move, the Dance of the Nutcracker. Are the details for that anywhere?
You will get them when this is done. once it's resolved.
I am sorry. It's true that what I did was selfish. Note that I'm apologizing to the sculptor, not the mother. That said, I think having investigated your art for some time now, it is a bit short-sighted. And I am not saying that you are not a brilliant artist, because you are. However, I think with a fresh supply of materials, you could do so much more. I know that you desired the warmth of your subjects. Wow. Dancers are not known to be the warmest of people. And I mean that literally, because of their social class, they cannot keep their house as much. And because of their frequent injuries, they must constantly be icing themselves. There are an entire population of people who have nothing to do but sit around and be warm. Why, just today, my compatriot, Robin Goodfellow, met possibly the warmest person in a long time. I think with some new materials, and perhaps by joining hands with me and mine, your art could be quite transformative. Won't you come join me as I walk back to Hargrave House, and you can make the acquaintance of the rest of my party?
Yes, I realize the wisdom in what you propose, Ms. Sand. And yet, what of this poor creature, so caught up in her sorrow? Would it not be kinder to put her out of her misery?
I think there are a few ways to consider that. This particular person.
I think before you finish your sentence, there's an ice pick caving her skull in. Let us go to Hargrave House.
Excellent. On our way. I will say, I would say many people are forged by misery. And in her case, I think she was just shy of perfection. I would have let her age a little bit longer. Anyway, on to Hargrave House.
On to Hargrave House. Hargrave House. Well, let's talk about the Christmas party. We'll do the performance later. We'll have a little bonus night phase scene when we do the performance, but I would like to know, there are people just arriving at Hargrave House. Some people you know, some people you don't know. There are people kind of milling around in this sort of foyer, marveling at the color scheme. How daring to go with a single color, my word. And people muttering, look at this place, it's like a Gothic cathedral. And I very well expect Quasimodo to come bounding down the steps any moment now. Mr. Goodfellow, what is your appearance like, assuming it is a jaw-dropping, arresting appearance?
I think I walk down completely decked in like golden clothes, my crown shining even more brilliantly than usual. Just, the very image of a king holding court.
And indeed, everyone just looks up and like has to catch their breath upon seeing you. Burnright, what are you doing in the meantime?
I think I'm at the door bringing people in, and I see Goodfellow dressed like this, and once again I'm a little bit stunned, at a loss of words, but then I quickly just look away and just like, oh yes, I must do some dusting right now. Yes.
Mr. Goodfellow, Theodora Brathwaite has arrived at the party. She is there. She is dressed like a snow queen, but of course in her trademark color. She has a tiara with blue crystals and a blue sort of like fur muff around her hands. And always the sapphire choker.
I go to greet her, offer her my hand. Does she take it?
She does. She says, I haven't forgotten about your rudeness earlier today, Mr. Goodfellow.
Oh well, surely I can make up for it. And I kiss her hand.
She says, you are quite the charmer. And this regalia you're wearing, you are like
a god.
I was going to say a king, but yes, I suppose a god is appropriate. How interesting that you should crown yourself one of the gods on the day of our Lord's birth, or the night before.
Your lord is not my lord, but I will say there are no gods or kings, merely me.
Oh my, Mr. Goodfellow, you are an intriguing creature. Very, very interesting indeed. I am having a bit of a get-together at Brathwaite Hall very soon. Perhaps, well, I originally intended it just to be your dear friend Julius in company, but maybe you'd like to join us as well.
Oh, entering the jaws of the lion. How could I resist?
I'm collecting immortal beings, Mr. Goodfellow.
So, no longer playing coy, are we?
No, I don't have time for that. I'm afraid moves are being made. I was most interested in the sculptor for some plans I have brewing, but Ms. Sand seems to have gotten to him first. It's quite all right, though.
Is our collection rivaling yours, perhaps? Are you worried?
No, dear, dear Mr. Goodfellow. I'm afraid our paths are crossing merely out of happenstance. I have ambitions that have nothing to do with Hargrave House.
Do you know the story of Icarus, Miss Brathwaite?
Yes, I do. The beautiful youth who flew too close to the sun.
I see so much of you in him.
Do you? Do you suspect that my wings will be melting sometime soon, Mr. Goodfellow? Are you the sun I'm getting too close to?
I believe the choice will ultimately be mine, whether you soar or fall.
She smiles. Back to Covent Garden. Chaotic in a gin palace later in the evening. Sex workers and actors sit side by side, enjoying a drink after a busy night. How do we see the kinship they feel for each other?
There of the two groups, everybody pulls their money together to buy each other rounds, and having toasts to a well done night where actors are on stage saying their lines out, getting into difficult positions and what have you, the sex workers also like commiserate as that they too get into difficult positions and have to say very particular lines as well.
Indeed. Ms. Sand, what is it like when you bring the sculptor to this now filled with people from society party?
I think we actually walk in after the dancers who have arrived to give their Christmas Eve performance at Hargrave House. And so I think there's quite a bit of hubbub when people realize the ballet is here, followed by just this immediate hush of something like fear. But
He's making weird, like, courteous noises at people, like, hello, hello.
I'm actually going to take his
evening?
hand and lead him to where Robin and Theodora are sparring in the corner. And I'm going to say, I have been trying to get you to make Robin's acquaintance the whole time, my new friend. This is Robin Goodfellow. And I think the two of you could make beautiful art together. Robin has quite a collection of stunning followers. And then
Mr.
I'm
Goodfellow, the sculptor is repellent looking. He is vile. He smells. He's got bandaged up fingers, caked up blood on his hands, worn coat and boots.
I think if Robin is repulsed, he doesn't show it. He merely says, the guest of honor has arrived. And I take both his bandaged hands in mine, and I lean forward to kiss him on both cheeks. And I let the light of the sun fill my hands a little bit, give him a taste of that warmth. And I say, are you ready for your performance?
And he has just like a tear rolling down his cheek. And it rolls down and dribbles onto his bared teeth. And he says, yes, I am ready.
Wonderful. Come with me. And I guide him towards where the other dancers are.
Theodora turns to you, Ms. Sand, and says, my goodness, what an interesting dramatic evening this has been, Ms. Sand.
Hasn't it just? I met someone I think you know earlier today, but never mind. It's the holiday. I regret that I was unable to find time to open your gift before stepping out for the evening to bring our new friend home. Will you join me so that I can thank you directly when I see what you have generously given me?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, if you don't mind, I think I'll watch from over here. And she takes up a position like up on the stairs on a little landing that looks out over the Christmas tree.
Not foreboding at all.
Burnright, what's going on with you at the end of the little night phase here, or at least this part of it? We're going to have another round or a little bonus scene.
I imagine like as the sculptor came in, and like I think the dancers did see the sculptor and they got pretty nervous, and like they were trying to like scoot towards the door, but I was just like nope, and I was just like scooting them towards where the performance is going to be taking place, and like I'm like herding cats and trying to get everybody into position and getting ready for the performance and what have you. So,
Ms. Sand, do you open the gift?
Absolutely.
You open the gift, and the box is a fuse. And upon opening it, the tree, which has been booby-trapped with kerosene and other flammables, ignites, burning bright. But because of a special chemical composition, it burns with bright blue flame. Just immediately catches fire. Everyone starts screaming and running, and it's just total chaos in the middle of the foyer of Hargrave House. I think you were already on guard enough to where you will not be caught by surprise, but I'm curious what everyone's thinking here at the end.
If no one stops me, I am going to cut an artery so that I can splash blood on the tree and Rites of Salt and Smoke this.
Very good. I think this will be the end of the night phase. I think this will, depending on how this goes, it might interrupt the performance. What are you doing in Burnright? What are you thinking? How are you reacting?
Like, I'm looking around because, well, blue has been thematic this entire time. And I think because where Brathwaite has positioned herself, everybody can see her very clearly. And like, I'm staring daggers at her.
She's just smiling. And she even makes like little kitten paw motions at you, Burnright.
Oh yeah, I'm going to storm up to her if I can, but maybe not because of what Miss Sand is doing.
There's a lot of chaos too. People are like just running, and it's a chaotic scene. You may not be able to reach her. Mr. Goodfellow, what are you doing?
I think seeing this moment being ruined, he just scowls, and I would also like to try and find Theodora.
Theodora calls out to you as you're all trying to get to her. She says, "Plans within plans, always, Hargrave House. This is merely my opening move. The game has begun." And she slips away. What would you hope to accomplish with Rites of Salt and Smoke, Ms. Sand?
I want to do one thing beyond human limitation, which is snuff out the fire.
Very good. I think I'll let you do that. I don't have any interest in stopping you from doing that.
Okay.
Just describe it as you. Yeah.
So, yeah, I think in order to have enough blood to do this, I do nick an artery, which means that at the end of this, I am going to need some urgent help. And I nick, I cut my forearm deep, like very deep. And I swing my left hand out like this, and unusually large gushes of blood splash onto the tree. And I say unusually large because I think in the first second of blood gushing out, anyone with medical experience would expect to see me collapse. Like, this is more blood than one person should have. But when the blood hits the tree, it is like a creeping mold in that there is just darkness and cold that expands to subsume the flame. And kind of the tree collapses in on itself until there is just a smoldering pile of rotten pine branches.
Very good. That concludes the night phase. Let us move to the dawn from our interrupted evening with Ms. Sand bleeding out. Gigantic burned rubble in the middle of Hargrave House. You'll never get that smell out. Burn right. The sculptor presumably creeping around somewhere around the house still. And one of the dancers, the redhead, he didn't leave. He's still there. But it's the dawn phase. A threat was resolved, so let's get rewards. I'll take a photo of the rewards. Drop that in here for you all. But I'll read them off for people watching the video. You can have an end of session scene in which the hunters host a Hargrave House holiday meal. The hunters may invite any guests they wish to appear and so on and so forth. If you wish to do this, you can actually do that as a in the future. I'll let you have that if somebody wants to take that one. Rabbi Solomon may be consulted at her synagogue on an ongoing basis. You get an extra clue on the information move when you seek counsel about atonement or the nature of the soul. The Ring of Solomon, that's her demon hunting ring. The sculptor's ice pick, a bottle of human testicles, or a memento from the investigation. What would you all like to pick? You each get one choice.
I'll take the end of session scene.
Very good. Get a redo on your holiday party.
Always Easter.
Yep. Or New Year's.
Yeah.
Assad or chaotic?
I
Or,
think
all right.
I'm going to take Rabbi Rebecca Solomon because of the kind of tete-a-tete that we had at the very start of this. This thread.
Yeah, absolutely. She's a good character. She's a good ongoing character. She's a former hunter at Hargrave House, right?
I'm not sure whether or not I should take the ring or the human testicles because
A decision we're all frequently faced with. the universal problem.
Yeah, I'll take the ring. Yeah.
Very good. I think we should have a scene, maybe not today, but in the future, of like Rabbi Solomon giving you the ring. I think that would be pretty good. Since you might need it more than she does. Okay, fantastic. Let's keep going. All right, Dawn questions. You did not answer a capital Q question, but you all did resolve the threat, so you get a credit for that one. Let's do echoes in the night, or start with that. Bernard, did you get an echo in the night?
Maybe, but it felt like I was pushing it a little with getting in position and then getting the dancers into position, that sort of thing.
Oh, yeah, I'm into it. I like it. I think it's subtle, but I think it's good. Did you subtly express sexual desire for your employer in the way you dress them or serve them?
I think so.
I felt that. I felt it. Did you engage in a petty reprisal of someone who angered your employer?
If I got to Brathwaite, it would have been yes.
But you did not. Did you continue to perfect your worship of the undeniable? That's for Mr. Goodfellow to decide.
I would like to say yes, but I only have one reflection left. I'm going to say no. There's room for improvement.
Very good. Very good. I can't remember what happens on no. Maybe nothing. Let's see. That's on giveth. Oh, it's just nothing happens. Yeah. Let's keep going. Mr. Goodfellow, did you experience an echo of the night?
I think Madame Gagnon getting humiliated on stage while all our dancers are like hanging out here with the serial killer.
Oh yeah, I'm into it. I thought Yeah, that was really good. Yeah, I picked up on that. Did you let someone touch you and then make them pay a price for doing so?
I'd say the man with the sun mask.
Oh yeah, definitely. Did you express a clear preference for the beautiful over the mundane?
Yeah, I would say I called Madame Gagnon's art, basically an affront to God.
Yeah, that was good. Okay, fantastic. Let's go over to Ms. Sand. Did you experience an echo in the night, Ms. Sand?
I think I did at least one. I think the primary one is the disappointed people coming backstage to the ballet, and
Oh,
then
right.
the sculptor coming in behind the dancers.
Yeah, that was good. Did you make love to a dark entity because it felt good? I guess so, probably. Yeah.
Yes.
Mrs. Crawley. Did you have I guess we have to we have to make certain decisions about that encounter, I suppose, but we'll assume it was good.
I had fun.
Yes. And you did have a face-to-face encounter with several
Yes.
dark entities today, so go ahead and mark XP for that one. Okay, very good. Let's keep going. Burnright, you can claim a memento if you wish from the night phase.
I think in her haste, because this is interesting because Brathwaite says she has plans upon plans, but she did forget something, her handkerchief.
Very good. Sapphire blue handkerchief, I'm sure.
Mhm.
Are you keeping it?
No, I'm going to give it to Goodfellow. He could
very
use
good.
that. So,
It's an item.
yes, as a personal quarters item.
Sweet.
And I gain an XP.
Indeed. Let's go over to, do we have any open Janus mask? I don't think so, actually.
Nope, we do.
Oh, we have.
Yes.
Oh, that's right. You marked one, Miss Sant, yeah.
To avoid Sasha's mother. And so I marked narrate a flashback to your young adulthood that shows when you first met the leader of the coven. Name them. I think towards the end of my teenage years, I have already discovered that my own blood will let me do almost whatever I want. A teenager, it was hard for me to understand important limits. So I think the leader of the coven was an assistant professor at my boarding school who walked in to find me in the beginning stages of blood loss, like collapsed on the floor. And I think the leader of the coven nursed me back to health. And I think because of the ties, sorry, I think she was Miss Margaret Crawley's, Mr. Crawley's sister from today.
I love it. That situation is getting more and more interesting as we go. It's good. I like it. It's a certain suggestion about like how they ended up at 14 Brompton Road, right? Which is intriguing. Good. Okay. That feels good as far as all that goes. I think there's nothing else to do, so let's go to stars and wishes. I'll start today. Stars. It was a good session. It was really like we just got to the good stuff really, really, really fast. This group burns hot and fast, and now Mr. Goodfell's literally the case. And it does mean that you're burning through your Janus mask fast, but it also means you're burning through your advancements fast. It's really interesting. It's a fast-paced campaign, and I like it. It's really good. You are all like but I have to say, I think this is like one of these instances where I think like Theodora might win, right? I mean, depending
And it
on how
might
this
be a
goes.
good thing is the thing.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, exactly. Right. It might be like good for London or just for the world or something. I don't know, but it's good. I'm enjoying it. I had a great time with Theodora's big Christmas party. That's very fun. Just so many good little scenes with all the characters. Burnwright's first contacting the ghost of the former Mrs. Crawley, and just all the story that flowed from that was really terrific. I loved the encounter between the Man in the Sun Mask and Mr. Goodfellow. And I really like Ms. San's, like the blood metaphors are so are so pronounced in that storyline. I just really, really dig it. It's very, very fun. Yeah, so just all around great stars.
Yeah, this is probably my favorite session so far. I really loved Theodora really coming to the front and making an impression, for better or worse.
She decided that I am in my headcanon, she did all this because you turned your back on her, right? That's the only reason why. Yeah. Like, she does not play.
Yeah, I gotta give a star for just Sasha for
Okay.
Okay.
Hey, sorry, I got dropped from the call.
Yes.
Oh,
It went crazy on me. I don't know what I missed, but just keep going with Stars and Wishes. So
I really like the whole scene with the coven possessing the woman Bernard was going to murder anyway, and how Miss Sand resolved that with blood and sex.
yeah, that was great.
So I intentionally didn't clear the many needs of Mrs. Crowley, because I think that will be really funny to have a needy ghost show up and make things complicated at some point. So major star, I just like that condition. That's very selfish. I really like that the undeniable doesn't look human anymore. Like the undeniable never looked quite human, and now that the undeniable has glowing hands and feet, this is going to just be something that's increasingly hard to disguise. So I think that's really fun in concept. I liked the holiday party and the sculptor being just terrible. And also, I think Burnwright is an excellent straight man, despite not being straight. But so.
yeah. Oh, I'm very excited when I'm going to get to either A, make my custom move, or B, engage in my advice with one of you, because I have a theory as to what sorts of questions you may want to ask me now, especially since I did murder a person in front of Masand.
Yeah, that the Mask of the Tiger continues to like express itself in really interesting ways. It's very fascinating, and it's a star for how much that has driven the way you play that character chaotic. I think it's really, really intriguing. And it's kind of one of the things, like, these are the sorts of things that make like every campaign of the Between feel so different, right? Despite having like some similar foundations, right? So it's really fun to explore all that. Wishes for me, I am pondering which threat is going to become the servant of the mastermind. I am now entitled to do this, but I have not made any decisions yet, so I'm curious to see how that plays out. I am curious if you all will go 2 Theodoras to Brathwaite Hall for New Year's. Julius is going, and so we'll see how that plays out. But I think it all is all part and parcel of her plan, right? I'm curious what the nightshade means. Why were you gifted that, Mr. Goodfellow? It's intriguing to me. So yeah, these are all questions I have that I would like answers to.
I also find it very interesting that the bomb was not placed in Goodfellow's package, but rather placed in Miss San's. That is.
The order mattered too. If Miss Sand had opened her box first, nobody else would have got their gift.
Mm.
I'm definitely looking forward to getting some payback at her New Year's party. Yeah, I use my advance to clear all my reflections. I do think there's an interesting space here where like he could really go either way in terms of like joining her or like burning up. And I'm looking forward to the resolution of this relationship he has with Burnright. Probably sooner than later with how quickly I burn through these.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely, right now at least, I think Burnright is worse than Goodfellow. So if you, depending on who you reveal your statue to, I think it really can go either way in terms of like becoming a servant of the mastermind.
Definitely.
All right. Anything else, stars and wishes wise?
I realized somewhere partway through the session that I had taken a thinning of the veil at some point and have not used it. So
that one's great because it's very like immediate. It's like what's about to happen if I walk through this door, you know.
Yeah.
So I think it's great.
But I also think that this is more like a plan for next session. But definitely seeing Ms. Sand at home will be interesting. Because I am currently extremely injured and I just figure I will spend a good part of the next day phase recuperating. And so, yeah, just some interesting stuff.
I think that'll be great too. Yeah, I'm very intrigued by all that. Any other stars or wishes?
That scene with Julius at dinner.
Julius is the gift that always gives. So.
Just want to point out we now have 2 vampires, 2 ghosts, and a serial killer living with us.
Who's the other ghost?
The little girl ghost.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Just Hargrave, another day at Hargrave House, right? I mean, like, you know, all the residents.
Major star for that being Theodora's daughter.
Oh, yeah.
Because that makes it way complicated.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, it makes you wonder how she like. Yeah, it complicates the situation a lot, right? Like and I like it because it just sort of like it implies that Theodora is she's always in the background or she's one step ahead, and which is what the mastermind is supposed to be. And I really like that, even if I don't exactly know what the contours of it all are yet. But yeah.
And a wish for something that happened. And this isn't a criticism at all, but I also would have really liked to hear what Burnright had to say after we seduced the ghost. And yeah, like I didn't get to ask Burnright a question and Burnright doesn't speak unless asked to. But, yeah, I think that would have been really fun. So that out of character, character, I think it was a good scene.
Fabulous. Okay. Anything else? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.